Hello and welcome to Dual Coding Mind Mapping. This time we're looking at cell division. You're going to need two pieces of plain paper and a pen or a pencil. The first thing you need to do is copy down exactly what you see on the screen. There's going to be multiple pictures and words with an explanation. You need to copy down exactly what's on the screen whilst listening to the explanation. So our first section is mitosis. And here we're looking at a particular type of cell division which happens in the whole body. So each human in each cell has 46 chromosomes, and we need to copy those cells for a number of different reasons. And this occurs in the entire body. Every single cell will divide or replicate via mitosis. And this is an example of asexual reproduction. There are no two parents. There's no variation at all. This is an exact copy, a replica of what happens. And as I said, this occurs in our whole body, our skin cells, blood cells, bone cells, hair cells, everything. It copies by themselves. And we start with 1 and then we get 2. What I'd like you to do is pause the video, re-explain to yourself or to somebody else what you've just drawn and heard, and then restart the video. The next section is plants. Plants also can replicate via asexual reproduction, which is via mitosis, and this happens in plants within the meristem for growth and repair, and these cells are genetically identical with each other, just like the whole body we were talking in the previous branch. This happens, there are genetically identical cells. If we cut ourselves, we get new skin cells that form, and they will replicate from the ones around the cut. And so they copy themselves and make new ones. And this happens continuously throughout our body and throughout the plant. The meristems in the plant have cells which replicate themselves via mitosis in order to build new cells for growth and repair. It's important to note that this is mainly for growth and repair. So again, I'd like you to pause the video, re-explain to yourself or to somebody else what you've just heard and drawn, and then restart the video. The next section is all about fertilization. Now, at fertilization, we get lots of cell division. When the sperm fertilizes the egg, it becomes what's called a zygote. And the zygote then starts to divide, and it divides initially by mitosis. And so it needs energy to do this. And so we have mitochondria, which is in the egg, which allows respiration to occur, and we get energy from respiration. And so the cell divides and divides and divides, and we get this group of cells, and they turn into embryonic stem cells. Now, what happens to them later on is something very different, but for the process of this, we're looking at the cell division part. So the sperm fertilizes the egg becomes what's called a zygote, and then starts to divide, and it needs energy to do this, and that's from the mitochondria in the egg, and it divides via mitosis. And so we get a number of these cells which are the same, they're genetically identical, because we've now got the fusing of the sperm and the egg, and the cells just start to divide and replicate via mitosis. I'd like you to pause the video, re-explain this to somebody else or back to yourself, and then restart the video. Now we've got meiosis, and this is the other type of cell division. This is the last branch that we're going to do. So mitosis is asexual reproduction. Each of the cells are genetically identical to the original, whereas meiosis, this is where we get variation, and this is where we need two parents. So it's sexual reproduction, and we get variation within the cells that are produced. So we have 23 chromosomes from the sperm, 23 from the egg, and we have a different 23 that could in each of the sperm you have a different 23, in each of the eggs you have a different 23. And when they fuse and they start to divide, we can get this variation because we get this crossing over of genes within the chromosomes. And if you see at the top of the diagram where it says variation, we've then got two chromosomes, and notice we've got a switching of particular genes from each of the X chromosomes there. And then as we move down, we've got division, and so we get genetically different cells, whereas in mitosis you get genetically identical, they're an exact replica. Here we have genetically different because of that crossing over of genes on the chromosomes, and we end up with 4 what we call daughter cells. And the daughter cells, they're called daughter cells because they are they vary from each other. They're not the same as the original, and they're not the same as each other at all. They're completely different cells, genetically different. Okay, and this is sexual reproduction. This variation gives us sexual reproduction. Asexual reproduction, one parent, genetically identical. Sexual reproduction, 2 parents, variation. So we have meiosis, and this only occurs in the gametes, in the sperm and egg cell. It doesn't occur anywhere else in the body at all. Everywhere else in the body, you have mitosis. Here in the sperm and egg, that's where you get meiosis, in those gametes. What I'd now like you to do is to have a look at the diagram which you have drawn, this wonderful mind map of cell division. Look at it for 4 to 5 minutes, then turn it over, and on your second sheet of paper, from memory, draw as much as you possibly can. Spend as long as you need, and then what I'd like you to do is compare the one you've now drawn with the original that we drew together. Thank you for listening to dual coding mind mapping with cell division. Come back next time for a new unit.